Alrighty, thanks for tuning in. Here in part 2, I'm continuing to paint this lovely reference photo of the couple dancing. And this is what happened in part 1. We did a grey layer, sometimes known as the dead layer, and Verdaccio, the green layer. It's looking very green here. And today, for this episode, we're going on the mid-tones. And I'm starting with a permanent red using panpastels. And the goal really of this video is to not just show you how to build up layers of colour to make the painting come to life, but also I'm experimenting in creating my own panpastel palette for portraits. The colours that I'll always go to, and develop a process too of doing paintings, at least for portraits. And I'm starting with the permanent red on top of the green because the red is the complementary colour to green, and I wanted to see if in fact the green would make the red pop a little bit more. I thought I'd begin today's session just talking about how the panpastel range works with colour tones. When I first was introduced to panpastels, I looked them up online, and you can get various sets of them. And the colours that you see here, the midtones, come from their pure colour range, which is a set of 20 pans, but in fact effectively is 18 colours. The other two colours being a titanium white and a black panpastel, which you can then use to create your other shades and tints. So when we're talking about tones, sometimes some refer to tones as values, and the range is just between how our eyes perceive light from through contrast, from light to dark, and that's how we understand shapes. And I guess that's a video in itself, talking about how the eyes perceive colour, and is probably a little bit beyond my skill set anyway. So there's 18 core colours, 20 if you include black and white, but I tend not to view them as colours on their own. And the pure colour is right in the middle of the range of tonal shades. So it's neither overly dark or excessively light. And you see I'm just using the primary colours here, yellow, red and blue, and a secondary colour is phthalo green. I guess I could have just stuck with the permanent green I had before, but I'm kind of used to playing with this phthalo green as well. It's got quite a nice pop to it. And if perhaps in my Verdaccio layer, the green layer, I had just used phthalo green, then that would have reduced the number of colours I'll end up in this final palette. This is Diary Lied. I think that's how it's pronounced. I had to listen to it a few times on different, you know how you look up a word on Google, you go, how do I pronounce this? And I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Diary Lied. It's a lovely yellow, very warm, and possibly a little bit towards the red spectrum of yellows. There's another yellow that comes with panpastels called Hansa, H-A-N-S-A. H-A-N-S-A, yep. Enhancer has got a more of a green tinge to it. And when it's mixed with a bit of black, it's quite a nice greeny yellow that works very nicely on skin as well. But I wanted to just try with the Dairy Lied, and you'll notice as I'm painting this, what I haven't done is do a like a straight paint, in the sense of, put down a whole layer of grey and just colour everything grey, and then next just colour everything green, and next colour everything red. That's just not going to work with pastels. Work with very thin washes with other mediums. Oil paint, perfect for that. You get a thin wash, those other colours are going to come through. But here I'm more just finding the colours, and now we're on to ultramarine blue. I love the ultramarine range, it's fantastic. But I'm putting the colours where I see them in the reference photo. And the more you look at a photo or a person, the more you start identifying it's not pink skin, it's not yellow skin, it's not brown skin. There's a full range of colours underneath the surface, and or reflecting what's happening around them. And so that's why I'm putting the colours where I believe they belong. So the panpastel range. So there's 18 pure colours, the mid-tone range. And then you can get a set which is tints, which is 19 colours and another white thrown in, or shades, which is a darker version of these mid-tones, and they'll have an extra black thrown in. And the 19th colour is a Payne's Grey, which is a blue grey they've created. You don't get that Payne's Grey in the mid-tone selection. It comes out in the tints. I'm pretty sure that's right. You get a neutral grey in the pure colour set, which is a much warmer grey. And that's what I used for my dead layer. I really enjoyed that neutral grey. And then so you've got tints, you've got mid-tones, you've got shades, and then they go one darker, which oddly enough they call the darks. And here we are into my phthalo green, and I just love how that just pops against the blues and the reds. It is a bit of a favourite, that phthalo green. So when I first started with panpastels, previously I had used pastel sticks, and anyone who's done pastel will be aware that once you start buying pastels, it's very hard to stop, because they come in almost every hue imaginable. Some 20 years ago, when I first started getting them. Oh look, we're getting close to the end here. When I first started buying pastel sticks, they just came in tints, and you get a range 1 to 5, and it was like painting by numbers. I'll put down a number 3, and on either side I can have a 2 and a 4. If I want to go dark, I'll have a 5. If I want to go light, I'll have a 1. Panpastels, you've got to think a little bit more differently, and because they've got a transparency factor, you can see the colours come through quite nicely. And so here this painting took me about a month to do, and I'm just doing these sort of like 10-minute videos. so you're not overwhelmed. Here's the palette we've used so far. You'll see the neutral greys, the permanent greens, and we did the midtones today. And I hope you enjoyed just seeing the midtones, learning a little bit more about panpastel. Hope you enjoy creating things. And coming up next, we'll have the contrast, the darks and lights.